Good morning students, all set for long lecture today. Chalo, so today's topic is decline of Mughal Empire. Let me first write down the topic for you. In the study material given to you or in the booklet in your hands, you must be having a list of chronology of Mughal emperors or leaders. Okay, देख लो उसको अच्छे से. उसमें उनका reign, उनका birth, उनका death, पूरा period दिया हुआ है. So we will not be discussing about dates and years in this lecture. Anyways, in UPSC, dates are not that important. I'm not saying कि important बिल्कुल भी नहीं है, पर the examiner or the evaluator won't be demanding कि तुमको exact date पता हो, तुमको exact year पता हो. हाँ ठीक है, एक time span पता रहना जरूरी है कि ये period से ये period के बीच में हुई है ये फलाना कोई incident या कोई घटना. ठीक है, that you have to remember, but not necessarily the exact date of the or the chronological, or you just have to remember the chronological order. ठीक है, तो तुम्हारे लिस्ट में दिया हुआ पूरा मुगल एम्पायर का क्रोनोलॉजी विच स्टार्ट्स विथ हुम? बाबर. सबसे पहला दिया होगा बाबर. आफ्टर बाबर हुज देयर? हुमायून. देन वी हैव Akbar. Then we have Jahangir. Then there is Aurangzeb. The chronology continues after Aurangzeb, but why have I stopped after Aurangzeb, after writing Aurangzeb, is we will not be discussing this 6 in today's lecture. This is the part of medieval history. We will be discussing this 6 in medieval part of the history of the Indian history. Today we will not be discussing this 6. Because today's topic is decline of Mughal Empire, and the Mughal Empire flourished during the reign of this 6. Yeah, there were some exceptions, like during Humayun's reign, the Mughal Empire was in a sort of declining situation. Okay, but then immediately Akbar came and the Mughal Empire flourished as anything. Like it was the best, it was the zenith of Mughal Empire during the Akbar's time. Again, during the time of Aurangzeb, as we see, there was a declining graph in the reign of Mughal Empire. Okay, the Mughal Empire started to decline, maybe or majorly because of his political policies, economic policies, his approach towards people of India, or rather the people who he governed or said to be governing. Okay. Maybe there are various factors. Those factors we will not be discussing today. That will be discussing during the medieval part of Indian history. Okay, majorly that is to be considered important for history optional subjects. General studies में इतना important नहीं है. Yeah, there is a part of medieval history in general studies, but majorly general studies focuses on modern part of the history. Okay, और modern part में घुसने से पहले we should be knowing about the declining situation of Mughal Empire in India. Okay, because immediately after the Mughal Empire finished or ended, the Britishers entered. So how Britishers entered? For that we should be knowing somewhat about Mughal Empire and how they declined or how they came to be declining. Okay, fine. So immediately after the death of Aurangzeb, 3 of his sons fought amongst themselves for the throne, of which the able son of Aurangzeb, he was 65-year-old man, Bahadur Shah, emerged victorious. Okay, he won the war and became the emperor of Mughal dynasty. Okay, he became victorious. Okay, so Bahadur Shah, let me write down the name for you first. After Aurangzeb there was Bahadur Shah. Bahadur Shah was a very able man. He was kind-hearted, he was powerful, he was can we say he was courageous. He was he had all the necessary things required to be a king, or necessary qualities to be a king. Okay, Bahadur Shah was that kind of a ruler. Okay, so Bahadur Shah, during Bahadur Shah, as we know, there were no destruction of temples at all, whereas we can see the destruction of temples going on during Aurangzeb's period. But during Bahadur Shah's period, there was no destruction of temple. He had a light approach towards, or a good approach towards Hindu chiefs and rajas. Okay, he had, as we know that during Aurangzeb's period, the Mughal Empire was sort of declining, because of which the enemies of Mughal Empire were becoming more and more powerful. There were constant threats of enemies attacking on the Mughal Empire. Because of all those things, what Bahadur Shah had to do is, he had to conciliate or make some agreements with the Maratha Sardars, the Sikhs, and the other, or the Rajputs and the other Indian rulers of that time. Okay, so what Bahadur Shah did is, he granted Sardeshmukhi to the Marathas, but he failed to grant the Chauth to the Marathas. Now, what is Sardeshmukhi and what is Chauth? Firstly, let us see about Sardeshmukhi. And then we'll see about Chauth. What is Chauth? What does it imply? हिंदी में सोच के देखो चौथ कैसा साउंड करता है. चौथ मतलब चार, एक चौथाई, मतलब ये एक चौथाई हिस्सा है सर्कल का, which means this is a chauth. Similarly, the exact meaning in tax. Chauth was a kind of tax which was imposed by Mughal dynasty or the Mughal Empire on the production or revenue. ठीक है, तो चौथ कितना होता था? Chauth used to be 25% of your total production or revenue. Chauth used to be 25% of your total revenue or production. ठीक है, उतना परसेंट तुमको मुगल को टैक्स देना पड़ता था. एंड सरदेशमुखी वॉज एडिशनल 10% टैक्स ऑन दिस 25%. 10% टैक्स ऑन दिस 25%. ठीक है, मतलब 25% तो तुमको चौथ देना है, और जितना तुम चौथ दे रहे हो उसका 10% और तुमको सरदेशमुखी भी देना है. ओके, तो व्हाट बहादुर शाह डिड इज, सरदेशमुखी और चौथ जो दोनों मुगल एम्पायर के पास था, he did is सरदेशमुखी he gave to Marathas and चौथ he kept with himself or the Mughal dynasty or the Mughal empire. ठीक है, इतना समझ में आया? तो let us consider that your monthly or annual, sorry, this for annual, your annual income is somewhere around, उस टाइम पर रुपीस वगैरह नहीं था, लेट वी आर टेकिंग इट एज एन एग्जाम्पल. ओके, तो 100 रुपीज तुम्हारा एनुअल इनकम है, एनुअल रेवेन्यू और प्रोडक्शन है. ठीक है, तो उसमें से तुमको चौथ कितना देना पड़ेगा? चौथ देना पड़ेगा 25, 25 रुपीज टू हुम? टू मुगल्स. ओके, और तुमको सरदेशमुखी कितना देना पड़ेगा? सरदेशमुखी तुमको 25 का 10%, मतलब कितना हुआ? 2.5 रुपया, 2.5 रुपीज. ये किसको देना पड़ेगा तुमको? मराठास को. ठीक है, मतलब 100 तुम्हारा टोटल रेवेन्यू है, उसमें से 25 गया किसको? मुगल्स को, और 2.5 गया किसको? मराठास को. और बचा कितना फिर तुम्हारे पास उस हिसाब से? 100 माइनस 25, 75 माइनस 2.5, 72.5 रुपीज तुम्हारा एनुअल इनकम है. समझ में आया सरदेशमुखी और चौथ? तो एक काम करते हैं, सरदेशमुखी और चौथ के बारे में एक छोटा सा नोट लिख लेते हैं. ठीक है, हाउ ऑफ दैट? फाइन। तो टॉपिक दो चौथ। चौथ was an annual tax nominally levied at 25% on revenue or produce। नेक्स्ट लिखो सरदेशमुखी। सरदेशमुखी was an additional 10% tax levied upon the collected chauth। Got it? सरदेशमुखी एंड चौथ। सो या एज वी वर डिस्कसिंग, बहादुर शाह का क्या पॉलिसी था? सरदेशमुखी मराठास को दे दिया, चौथ खुद रख लिया। ठीक है, मतलब 25% खुद रख लिया, 10% मराठास को दिया। ठीक है, विच इम्प्लाइज कि उसको मांडवली तो करना था, मतलब ही हैड टू कंसिलिएट विद मराठास बिकॉज ऑफ हिज डिक्लाइनिंग सिचुएशन। ही हैड टू कंसिलिएट विद मराठास और द मराठा सरदार्स, बट इट वॉज हाफ हार्टेड। मतलब चलो ठीक है यार, ले लो, थोड़ा सा ले लो, इच्छा तो नहीं है पर ठीक है ले लो। सो इट वॉज हाफ हार्टेड काइंड ऑफ कंसिलिएशन विथ मराठा सरदार्स। ओके, नेक्स्ट व्हाट ही डिड इज, ऑन द अदर हैंड देयर वर rebellious Sikhs always trying to attack on Mughal dynasty and conquer Delhi. They were constantly making strategies to conquer Delhi. ठीक है, तो उनको शांत कराने के लिए बहादुर शाह ने क्या किया? गुरु गोविंद सिंह he gave Guru Gobind Singh a higher mansab. What is mansab? Mansab means a rank. He gave Guru Gobind Singh a higher mansab, okay, under Mughal dynasty, which means कि वो हर किसी को खुश करते जा रहा था। बहादुर शाह was making his enemies happy or keeping his enemies closer through all these strategies. ठीक है, बट हुआ ये, उसका परिणाम ये हुआ कि मुगल डायनेस्टी का स्टेट फाइनेंस वाज weakening because of this constant grants and donations. The Mughal dynasty's state finances started to decline, मतलब खत्म होते यार, शाही खजाना अफेक्ट हो रहा था उस वजह से। ठीक है, मतलब जो चीज कर रहा था बहादुर शाह कर रहा था ताकि मुगल एम्पायर बैलेंस आउट हो जाए या स्टेबल हो जाए, बट हुआ उल्टा उसका शाही खजाना और खत्म होते जा रहा था। ठीक है, तो बहादुर शाह यहाँ तक समझ में आया? ओके, तो बहादुर शाह डाइड इन 1712 which led to a civil war situation in the Mughal dynasty। ठीक है, तो वो देखेंगे उसमें क्या हुआ आगे। पहले बहादुर शाह के बारे में हम लोग एक अच्छा सा फ्लो चार्ट बना लेंगे, और ये जो मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, वो लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है, हम आखिर में हर एक एम्परर के बाद, हर एक किंग के बाद एक फ्लो चार्ट बनाते जाएंगे, उससे आपको याद रहेगा, मतलब आपके पास नोट्स भी क्रिएट हो जाएंगे, और दोज विल बी वेरी प्रिसाइज एंड शॉर्ट नोट्स। ओके, सो नो नीड टू राइट, नो नीड टू मेक अ रनिंग नोट व्हाइल आई एम टॉकिंग, यू कैन कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से। ओके, सब ठीक से समझ में आया? सरदेशमुखी, चौथ वगैरह एवरीथिंग। सो या बहादुर शाह, he had good approach towards Hindu chiefs and rajas। Second, no destruction of temples during his reign. Granted, Sardeshmukhi to Marathas, but failed to grant what? Chauth. This shows half-hearted conciliation with Maratha Sardars. ओके और क्या किया उन्होंने? हायर मनसब टू गुरु गोबिंद सिंह। और एक क्या हुआ उसकी वजह से? क्या हुआ? All these situations led to state finances weakening. शाही खजाना और भी कम होते गया। ओके, ठीक है, यहाँ तक समझ में आया? बहादुर शाह। So yeah, like I told, Bahadur Shah died in 1712. His death led to औरंगजेब के बाद भी देखा था हमने कि फिर से वही 3 of his sons fought amongst themselves, out of which 65-year-old Bahadur Shah emerged victorious. ठीक है, again that situation repeated. History repeats itself बोलते हैं ना हम लोग, उसी तरह से। ठीक है, Bahadur Shah died in 1712. So there was a civil war like situation in the Mughal dynasty, in the Mughal empire, out of which his less able son, when I say less, I put it in double quotation mark, less able son Jahandar Shah became victorious. Okay, now when I say Jahandar Shah became victorious, and on the other hand I am also saying that he was a less able son, how could he become victorious? कैसे जीत पाया वो? How could he win the civil war? Because he was supported by a very powerful noble of that time. His name was Zulfikar Khan. Khan from the epiglottis. Zulfikar Khan. Okay. So ultimately the next Mughal emperor was Jahandar Shah. Jahandar Shah was supported by Zulfikar Khan. Okay, Jahandar Shah was supported by Zulfikar Khan. Fine. So Zulfikar Khan was a very powerful leader of that time, or a very powerful noble of that time. Jahandar Shah on the other hand was very weak and degenerate. He was totally devoted to pleasure. मतलब मस्ती में ज़्यादा ध्यान था उसका, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में बिल्कुल ध्यान नहीं था. He had least interest in any kind of administration or administrative works. Okay, which means that administration was virtually in the hands of Zulfikar Khan. Zulfikar Khan was used to support Jahandar Shah. तो जहांदर शाह ने क्या किया? जहांदर शाह made Zulfikar Khan his wazir. Okay, Jahandar Shah made Zulfikar Khan his wazir. And the administration was virtually or totally in the hands of Zulfikar Khan. Zulfikar Khan used to make all the policies, economic, political or whatsoever policies for the Mughal Empire under Jahandar Shah. Okay, so जहांदर शाह के बारे में ना जानते हुए हम लोग जुल्फिकर खान के बारे में जानेंगे, बिकॉज जहांदर शाह का तो कुछ रोल ही नहीं, ठीक है, जो कुछ भी किया जुल्फिकर खान ने किया, जो भी पॉलिसीज लाया जुल्फिकर खान ने लाया. ओके, तो जुल्फिकर खान हमने देखा बहादुर शाह के टाइम पे बहादुर शाह ग्रांटेड सरदेशमुखी टू द मराठास, बट ही फेल्ड टू ग्रांट चौथ टू मराठास. नाउ व्हाट Zulfikar Khan did is he granted both Sardeshmukhi and Chauth to Marathas. ठीक है, ये क्या, इससे क्या पता चलता है? That Mughal Empire was again on the declining situation. More and more, the situation was more and more deteriorating. Okay, more and more weakening. Okay, तो जहांदर शाह ने क्या किया, सॉरी जुल्फिकर खान ने क्या किया, सरदेशमुखी और चौथ दोनों मराठाओं को दे दिया. मराठास वर कॉन्स्टेंटली डिमांडिंग बोथ सरदेशमुखी एंड चौथ, विच जुल्फिकर खान गेव टू देम. ओके, सेकेंडली ही अबॉलिश्ड जीजिया. He abolished jizya. What is jizya? Jizya was a kind of tax. Jizya was a kind of tax which was imposed on you if you are a non-Muslim during Mughal period. Okay, अगर आप non-Muslim हो तो you have to pay jizya. और जुल्फिकर खान ने क्या किया, जीजिया को completely abolish कर दिया. He abolished jizya completely. Okay, jizya was in fact started by Qutubuddin Aibak, which was abolished by Emperor Akbar, which was again started by Aurangzeb, and then it was again abolished by, now you know whom, Zulfikar Khan. औरंगजेब ने उसको फिर से शुरू किया था, अकबर ने बंद करवाया था, औरंगजेब ने फिर से शुरू किया था. Now you know why the declining situation started after Aurangzeb, because of his political or economic policies or his approach towards other Hindu chiefs and rajas. Okay, that led to the declining situation of Mughal Empire. Okay, so Zulfikar Khan abolished jizya. This was the major step during his dynasty, during Jahandar Shah's dynasty. Okay, next he gave the title of Mirza Raja Savai to Jai Singh of Amer. He gave the title of Mirza Raja Savai to Jai Singh of Amer and made him the governor of Malwa. And he also gave the title of Maharaja to Ajit Singh of Marwar. He gave the title of Maharaja to Ajit Singh of Marwar and made him the governor of Gujarat. ठीक है, इससे एक और चीज, फिर से वही चीज पता चलती है, decline of Mughal Empire, the declining or the deteriorating situation of the Mughal Empire, इससे ये पता चलता है. ओके, तो दो important चीजें ये हो गई, abolition of jizya and giving away the titles to the to Hindu chiefs and rajas. Okay, next he was defeated by, in fact Jahandar Shah, not Zulfikar Khan. Jahandar Shah was the emperor. Jahandar Shah was defeated by Farukh Siyar. Jahandar Shah was defeated by Farukh Siyar in 1713. In January 1713, Farukh Siyar defeated Jahandar Shah at Agra. Okay, now Farukh Siyar again was similar to Jahandar Shah. He was also weak, he was also degenerate. Okay, he had all the same qualities as Jahandar Shah. Then how could Farukh Siyar defeat Jahandar Shah? How could that happen? अब इसके पीछे क्या लॉजिक था? जहांदर शाह बहादुर शाह के बाद एम्परर क्यों बना? बिकॉज ही वॉज सपोर्टेड बाय जुल्फिकर खान. तो फारूक सियार भी उसी तरह से एम्परर बना बिकॉज ही वॉज सपोर्टेड बाय सैयद ब्रदर्स. जहांदर शाह वॉज डिफीटेड बाय फारूक सियार बिकॉज फारूक सियार वॉज सपोर्टेड बाय Sayyid brothers. Sayyid brothers were very powerful leaders of that time, powerful nobles of that time. Okay, and in fact Farukh Siyar was nephew of Jahandar Shah. मतलब Jahandar Shah Farukh Siyar का मामा था. Okay, तो next Mughal emperor was Farrukh Siyar. And Farrukh Siyar was supported by whom? Sayyid brothers. Now who were these Sayyid brothers? सबसे पहले तो उनका नाम जान लेते हैं. Their names were Abdullah Khan and Hussain Ali Khan Baraha. काफ़ी लंबा नाम है, अभी से रटना शुरू कर दो, प्री मेंस आते आते याद हो जाएगा. ठीक है, तो सैयद ब्रदर्स वर अब्दुल्ला खान एंड हुसैन अली खान बराहा. ओके, तो विच मीन्स कि फारूक सियार के टाइम पे भी द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन वाज वर्चुअली इन द हैंड्स ऑफ सैयद ब्रदर्स. सैयद ब्रदर्स वर बिकमिंग मोर एंड मोर पावरफुल ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम, ड्यूरिंग फारूक सियार्स रेन. तो सारे एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव वर्क्स सैयद ब्रदर्स ही किया करते थे. फारूक सियार खाली ही वॉज टोटली डिवोटेड टू प्लेजर, वो खाली मस्ती में इन्वॉल्व रहता था. ओके, ही डिड नथिंग. फारूक सियार वॉज वेरी वीक, डिजेनरेट एंड ही वॉज फेथलेस, अनडिपेंडेबल. ही वॉज ऑल्सो क्रूअल एंड कावर्डली. मतलब कॉम्बिनेशन देखो, वो क्रूअल भी था और एक ही साथ उसी टाइम पे कावर्डली भी था. ओके, ग्रेट कॉम्बिनेशन इन फैक्ट. ओके, तो फाइनली इन 1719 what Sayyid brothers did is Sayyid brothers deposed Farrukh Siyar and killed him. In 1719 फारूक सियार डाइड. उसके बाद में फिर अगला एम्परर बना, वो देखेंगे, लेकिन उसके पहले फट से इसका फ्लो चार्ट बना लेंगे. काफ़ी छोटा है फारूक सियार, कुछ भी नहीं है इसके फारूक सियार के टाइम पे, तो फ्लो चार्ट बनाने में ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लगेगा. Okay, one more thing which I forgot to tell you is Sayyid brothers में जो अब्दुल्ला खान, the Abdullah Khan was wazir during Farrukh Siyar's reign, and Hussain Ali Khan Baraha was Mir Bakshi. Hussain Ali Khan Baraha was Mir Bakshi. What is Mir Bakshi? You know who is a Mir Bakshi? By the way, you know who is a wazir? Wazir matlab he is the most powerful leader after the king. He has the most of the powers after the king. चेस तो खेलते ही होंगे तुम लोग. चेस में जो वजीर होता है वो दूसरे नंबर में आता है, क्रोनोलॉजी में, हायरार्की में दूसरे नंबर पे आता है immediately after the king. That is a wazir. Now what is a Mir Bakshi? Mir Bakshi is your head of military. Mir Bakshi is your head of military. Okay, so yeah, we were writing the flow chart. Abdullah Khan was wazir and Hussain Ali Khan Baraha was Mir Bakshi. अब फ्लो चार्ट में ज़्यादा कुछ है नहीं लिखने के लिए, तो लेट्स राइट अबाउट द क्वालिटीज ऑफ फारूक सियार. ही वॉज cruel, cowardly, undependable, and faithless. Okay, last, he was deposed and killed by Sayyid brothers in 1719. ओके, समझ में आए फ्लो चार्ट? बना लो ये फ्लो चार्ट. So yeah, after Sayyid brothers killed Farooq Siyar in 1719, immediately after Farooq Siyar, Sayyid brothers made another an 18-year-old boy whose name was Muhammad Shah. He made Sayyid brothers made Muhammad Shah as the emperor of India. Okay, so our next Mughal emperor will be in line is Muhammad Shah. I'll rub this for you because there won't be enough space otherwise to write down. Next in line is Muhammad Shah. Okay, so yeah, Muhammad Shah was an 18-year-old boy who was made emperor of India by Sayyid brothers. So, which ultimately means that administration was still virtually in the hands of very powerful Sayyid brothers, whose name were Abdullah Khan and Hussain Ali Khan Baraha. Okay, the administration was virtually in the hands of these Sayyid brothers. Okay, so the major administrative decision which was taken by Sayyid brothers under Muhammad Shah was that he granted the King Shahu of Marathas, the King Shahu, they granted him the Swarajya, which was the dream of Shivaji, which finally came into being in during the reign of King Shahu. Okay, so I'll rub this and we'll make a flow chart about it. Okay, the topic will be Muhammad Shah. He too was supported by Sayyid brothers. He too was supported by Sayyid brothers. So, as we have seen that Shahu was granted Swarajya of Shivaji under Muhammad Shah's reign. It was granted by Sayyid brothers. Okay, everything was going good, everything was going well. But somewhere down the line, there were some nobles who were jealous of Sayyid brothers. Sayyid brothers have become very powerful leaders of that time. In very less time, in fact. So the other nobles or other, shall we say, the other nobles of Mughal dynasty were jealous of them, were jealous of Sayyid brothers. So they started conspiring against Sayyid brothers. They started to conspire against Sayyid brothers under the leadership of Nizamul Mulk and his father's cousin, whose name was Muhammad Amin Khan. Okay, Nizamul Mulk and Muhammad Amin Khan headed a group of nobles and conspired against Sayyid brothers. Okay, finally in 1720 they killed Sayyid brothers. Okay, and Muhammad Shah, who was an 18-year-old boy, supported anti-Sayyid nobles. He also wanted Sayyid brothers to be killed because the administration was completely in the hands of Sayyid brothers. He had no powers whatsoever. Muhammad Shah had no powers whatsoever. The administration was completely controlled by Sayyid brothers. He being a king or being an emperor of Mughal dynasty, he wanted himself to have some powers to be a part of decision making for his own kingdom or the country. Okay, which he was not given at all. Sayyid brothers were totally dominant upon the empire or the dynasty. Okay, so he also wanted the anti-Sayyid nobles to kill Sayyid brothers. Okay, which they did in 1720. Okay, so Sayyid brothers were finally killed in 1720 and thus ended the era of what we call in history kingmakers. Sayyid brothers were known as kingmakers in history. Okay, because they were known for making kings. Okay, for getting kings on the throne. Okay, so after the death of Sayyid brothers, Nizamul Mulk, who ultimately became a very powerful noble under Muhammad Shah, he was looked as a suspicious person by Muhammad Shah. He was totally he was all the time under observation of Muhammad Shah, Nizamul Mulk, because Muhammad Shah somewhere down the line thought that when Nizamul Mulk can kill such powerful nobles, such powerful leaders like Sayyid brothers, he can also kill me. He can also kill Muhammad Shah. Nizamul Mulk can also kill Muhammad Shah to fulfill his ambition of becoming a king or an emperor. Okay, he was always in mortal fear of Nizamul Mulk. Because of that, there were constant quarrels in the court, of which finally Nizamul Mulk was totally disgusted of this kind of behavior of Muhammad Shah in the court, and he finally left Delhi and went to found the state of Hyderabad in 1724. Nizamul Mulk finally left Delhi and went to find the state of Hyderabad in 1724. Okay, and this shows the physical breakup of Mughal Empire. This finally shows the physical breakup of Mughal Empire. Mughal Empire is already in a declining situation, and at this point of time, they don't even have unity amongst themselves. Okay, Mughal Empire as a whole was declining earlier. Now the Mughal Empire is divided in itself. There is no unity whatsoever in Mughal Empire left. Okay, Nizamul Mulk left Delhi and went to Hyderabad. In fact, he founded the state of Hyderabad in 1724. Okay, so this was all about Muhammad Shah. Let's continue with the flow chart. Supported by Sayyid brothers. Sayyid brothers, I'll write it SB as a short form for Sayyid brothers. Sayyid brothers granted Shahu the Swarajya. Swarajya was a dream of Shivaji. Okay, granted the Swarajya to Shahu, which was the dream of Shivaji. Nizam ul Mulk conspired against Sayyid brothers. Nizamul Mulk conspired against Sayyid brothers. Okay. Next in line we have Muhammad Shah, or in fact let's write down he, because we are already writing about Muhammad Shah. He supported the anti-Sayyid nobles. Muhammad Shah supported the anti-Sayyid nobles. Sayyid brothers were killed in 1720. You're getting this right? No problem in that? Yeah. Nizam ul Mulk left Delhi to found Hyderabad in 1724. Okay. By the way, Nizamul Mulk was the title given. His original or real name was Mir Kamaruddin Khan Siddiqui Bayafandi. Quite a long name. Mir Kamaruddin Khan Siddiqui Bayafandi. काफी बड़ा नाम है. Okay, so yeah, this was all about Muhammad Shah. So for a moment, for a time, let's keep Mughal emperors on a side, because Muhammad Shah के बाद ऐसा कुछ powerful या there was not a spark left in Mughal emperors. Like there was not a major event which we could calculate under Mughal emperor, which we could put under Mughal emperors. Okay, so yeah, after Muhammad Shah, we have in line Mr. Nadir Shah. Nadir Shah was not a Mughal. Nadir Shah was a shepherd boy in Persia. Shepherd boy means the one who grazes, the one who have ships, or the one who does the cattling kind of things. Okay, so Nadir Shah was a shepherd boy in Persia. Nadir Shah emerged to be the Shah of Persia. From a shepherd boy, he became the Shah of Persia. Okay, he had those qualities in himself that he conquered and became the Shah of Persia. He defeated Russia and Turkey and took back from them the parts of Persia. The parts of Persia which were ruled by Russia and Turkey, he fought against them and took back from them. Who did this? Nadir Shah did that. I will not put Nadir Shah in this list because as we see, this is the list of Mughal emperors. This is not the list of other emperors apart from Mughals. Okay, so yeah, Nadir Shah also defeated the last Safavi ruler. Safavi was a dominant dynasty in Persia of that time. By the way, what's Persia? What's the current name of Persia? It's Iran. The current name of Persia is Iran. Okay, so Safavi was a dominant dynasty in Persia. We don't have to know much about that. That's not in our syllabus anyways. So yeah, Safavi was, you just get to know that Safavi was a dominant dynasty in Iran. And Nadir Shah defeated the last Safavi ruler to become the Shah of Persia. Okay, and just like other emperors, Nadir Shah was also attracted to the beauty of India, not just the beauty, the wealth of India. He wanted to conquer India, but not with an intention to settle there. As we can see, the Mughals, the Sultanates, etc., etc. They came to India with an intention of conquering and settling there to rule India. But Nadir Shah's intention was not to rule India or settle in India. His intention was to plunder India. He wanted to plunder the wealth, the masses of India. Okay, just like Britishers. Britishers also did the same thing. Okay, they plundered and take away all the money, all the wealth we had, all the diamonds, all the golds, all the minerals, all the resources. Nadir Shah in fact did the same thing. In fact, Nadir Shah's plunder was so huge, if you calculate it in rupees, it was somewhere around 70 crores rupees. It was somewhere around 70 crores rupees, Nadir Shah's plunder. Nadir Shah even took away the famous Kohinoor diamond. Nadir Shah took away the famous Kohinoor diamond. He also took away the jewel studded peacock throne. He also took away the jewel studded peacock throne which belonged to Shah Jahan. Okay, he also took away that. He in fact took away the major like all the costlier things in the Mughal dynasty. Okay, the nobles were killed, the houses were burnt. Okay, like in fact the entire Shah Jahanabad of Delhi was plundered, was in the ruins when Nadir Shah attacked India. Okay, Nadir Shah entered India somewhere in around 1738. Okay, he entered India in 1738. He entered through the northwest parts of India. It's not that the Indians, like the Mughal ruler was not aware. Who was the Mughal ruler of that time? It was Muhammad Shah. It was not that Muhammad Shah was not aware of Nadir Shah entering the Indian territory. He in fact tried to stop Nadir Shah from entering Delhi, but he himself was not sufficient for that. Okay, he needed the help of other powerful rulers, or can we say the powerful nobles of that time. But as we have already seen in the earlier part, that the major powerful rulers were divided. The physical breakup of Mughal dynasty has already begun. Okay, so he demanded help from Nizamul Mulk, which Nizamul Mulk totally ignored or said he cannot help. Okay, which is why Muhammad Shah had a very small army as compared to Nadir Shah's army. Nadir Shah's army was huge. Okay, he has become a very powerful emperor of that time. So ultimately, Mughal army and Nadir Shah's army met somewhere at Karnal. Karnal is in Haryana, by the way. They met at Karnal. There was a war amongst them, and Mughals army encountered a crushing defeat in that war. Okay, because Mughals army was so weak in front of Nadir Shah's army that they couldn't sustain in that war. Okay, so ultimately Nadir Shah took Muhammad Shah as his prisoner. Okay, Nadir Shah took Muhammad Shah as his prisoner and entered Delhi. And after entering Delhi, what he did? He plundered Delhi. He took away 70 crore rupees in total. He took away the Kohinoor diamond. He took away the jewel-studded peacock throne and whatnot. Okay, so this was all about Nadir Shah. Let's make a flowchart of Nadir Shah now. he was a shepherd boy. He then became the Shah of Persia. Defeated Russia and Turkey. He also defeated the last Safavi ruler. Okay, he what he did then entered India in 1738, defeated Mughals at Karnal. Karnal is in Haryana in February 1739. Plundered Delhi worth 70 crores rupees. Plundered Delhi worth 70 crore rupees. Took away Kohinoor and jewel-studded peacock throne of Shah Jahan. Okay, so yeah, as a result of this, we have already seen that Mughals are on a declining situation. The state finances of Mughals have already worsened, and this is just another feather in the cap of Mughal dynasty. Feather in the cap? Shall we say the other way around? Not the feather in the cap exactly. Okay, just the cherry on the top of declining state finances. मतलब 70,000 crore उस टाइम के हिसाब से देखा जाए तो it was a huge sum of amount of money. Okay, so he took away all the money. So Mughal dynasty were more and more on declining kind of situation. Okay, so after Nadir Shah's death, as we know, after Nadir Shah's death, his chela, we can say, his chela was Ahmad Shah Abdali. His chela Ahmad Shah Abdali took over to the throne of Nadir Shah. Okay. When Nadir Shah died, Ahmad Shah Abdali took over to the throne of Nadir Shah. Okay. Ahmad Shah Abdali's major achievements as an emperor were he conquered Afghanistan. And दिल्ली तो तब तक मजाक बन गया था. मतलब नादिर शाह के बाद दिल्ली was plundered a lot of times. मतलब Ahmad Shah used to make repeated attacks on Delhi to acquire money. मतलब he used to rule in Iran. He used to stay in Iran. He had his authority in Iran. He had his kingdom in Iran. But जैसे पैसा खत्म हो गया, whenever he felt that we are short of resources, we are short of money, or we are short of revenue, we should plunder Delhi. Delhi में काफी पैसा है. We should go there, take away all the money, and come back to Iran and again rule. Okay, मतलब नादिर शाह का वो हॉबी बन गया था. Plundering Delhi was like a hobby for Nadir Shah. Okay, he used to make repeated attacks on Delhi. Nadir Shah's important one we have seen in Nadir Shah's career, one important achievement is he conquered Afghanistan. Second important achievement I'm going to tell you, but before that let me tell you that Marathas in the Deccan, Marathas are in the Deccan, they are looking at the scenario in Delhi. They feel that they are getting a feeling that Delhi has become weak. In fact, not Delhi, the Mughals have become weak. Now this is the perfect time we should attack Delhi and fulfill our dreams to conquer, to control the control the Mughals. It had been always a dream of Maratha rulers to control Mughals and capture Delhi. So Marathas thought this was the perfect time to conquer Delhi and establish a control over Mughals. So in 1761, they decided to attack Delhi. Okay, and they were unaware of, Ahmad Shah Abdali's strength or power, and they went on a war against Ahmad Shah Abdali. Okay, that battle is known as Third Battle of Panipat. In the Third Battle of Panipat between Ahmad Shah Abdali and Maratha Sardars, Ahmad Shah Abdali won, and Maratha rulers encountered a crushing defeat against Ahmad Shah Abdali, and thus the dreams of capturing Delhi were completely shattered. They didn't even think of capturing Delhi back again after this defeat. They were lost to such a ruin that they couldn't even think of capturing Delhi again. Okay, so this was another major important achievement of Ahmad Shah Abdali during his period. Okay, so let's make a flowchart for Ahmad Shah Abdali. You see, I haven't written Ahmad Shah Abdali in this list again because he was not a Mughal. Yeah, he captured Afghanistan after his master Nadir Shah's death. He repeatedly plundered Delhi. He repeatedly plundered Delhi and defeated Marathas in Third Battle of Panipat. Defeated Marathas in Third Battle of Panipat. Okay, so yeah, after Ahmad Shah Abdali, finally there was a Mughal emperor. Finally, a Mughal emperor came up to the throne. His name was Shah Alam II. Shah Alam II was a leader of ample courage, an emperor of ample courage. He had great thoughts, he had great mindset to fight against the declining Mughal dynasty, Mughal empire, okay, which he came into power in somewhere around 1759. 1759, he swore in as the Emperor of Delhi under Mughal Empire, but he could hardly be in Delhi. He wandered from place to place in India in mortal fear of his own nobles, his own people. In fact, there was also mortal fear from Ahmad Shah Abdali to Shah Alam II. Okay. Apart from that, he also lived in mortal fear of his own wazir. Like उसका खुद का वजीर उसको मारने पे तुला हुआ था, Shah Alam II. Okay, so he wandered from place to place, but Delhi. He never went to Delhi. Okay, finally in somewhere around 1764, he declared a war against East India Company. East India Company आ गया अभी scene में. It's 1764 now. Okay, this East India Company has entered. So many things happening in India at this point of time. एक तरफ से अहमद शाह अब्दाली है, फिर दूसरी तरफ से मराठा सरदार्स are constantly trying to capture Delhi. दूसरी तरफ से East India Company भी बंगाल से enter हो चुका है. ठीक है, they are also trying to capture Delhi constantly. So in 1764, he finally declared a war against East India Company, the British East India Company. Okay, with the help of Mir Qasim of Bengal and Shuja-ud-Dawla of Awadh. Mir Qasim of Bengal, let me write the names for you. Mir Qasim of Bengal and Shuja-ud-Dawla of Awadh. Shuja-ud-Dawla of Awadh. Hey, with the help of Mir Qasim of Bengal and Shuja-ud-Dawla of Awadh, Shah Alam II decided to go on a war against British East India Company. That war is known as Battle of Buxar. You must have heard about this war. You must have heard about this battle. That battle is known as Battle of Buxar. Okay, the result of this war was, again, Shah Alam II lost to East India Company. How could he win? How could he even win against East India Company? East India Company were using contemporary weapons, whereas whereas Shah Alam II's army was still using the primitive weapons. Okay, Mughal Empire's, East India Company's army was huge and massive and powerful. Shah Alam II's army couldn't sustain in front of East India Company. Okay, so they finally lost the Battle of Buxar on 22nd of October 1764. Okay, so after this defeat, Mughal Empire were more and more on the crushing scenario, more and more on the deteriorating side. Okay, finally there was a ray of hope for Shah Alam II when in 1803 he decided to capture Delhi, and he even did under the protective arms of Marathas. He negotiated with Marathas, he conciliated with Marathas. Marathas decided to provide him the support, and they finally captured Delhi in 1803. I beg your pardon, not in 1803, it was 1772. It was 1772. In 1772, the Shah Alam II, with the help of Maratha Sardars, went back to Delhi and captured Delhi. But in 1803, again the British East India Company attacked Delhi and took back from them. And finally, East India Company finally settled in 1803 in Delhi. And from 1803 to 1857, the Mughal emperors were merely a political front for British East India Company. They were known as emperors, they were known as kings of India, but they hardly had any powers. Okay, they had no administrative powers whatsoever. Everything was directly in the hands, not even virtually, everything was directly in the hands of British East India Company. British East India Company used to make laws for India, and by that time, by 1803, almost entire of India was under the clutches of British East India Company. Okay, so from 1803 to 1857, there were no major political changes in India or in Delhi. Mughals were emperors, Mughals were kings, but just for the namesake. They had no powers whatsoever. Okay, so this shows the final decline of Mughal Empire. After that, the Mughal Empire completely vanished or finished. After hypothetically or to say practically in 1803, but officially in 1857. Okay, understood? The decline of 1857. The decline of Mughal Empire, not 1857. 1857 में जाना है अभी, उसको time है थोड़ा. Okay, that's constantly going on in my mind. So 1857, revolt of 1857. So yeah, the decline of a Mughal Empire. You're clear with that? Any doubts? If you have any doubts, you can ask me now or later after the lecture. Okay? Thank you.